3, 2, 1. Ken Trahan along with Lenny Vangilder. It's our first NBC Bank Weekend Review brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations and expanding. Stay tuned. Not just Louisiana, but moving to Florida as well. It's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. Championship games, you had one classic and you had one bummer, basically, although right now the Green Bay Packers have to be bummed out after basically just blowing a game at Seattle and losing in overtime. Give the Seahawks, Lenny, a lot of credit for continuing to fight and playing to the whistle and playing 60 minutes plus, whereas the Packers, well, they kind of played conservatively and shut it down.
Yeah, you want to be able to finish games the same way you started, and clearly Green Bay was unable to do that. You could point to a number of different things, be it early in the game, getting 3 instead of 7, be it late in the game where they got a little conservative or a lot conservative, didn't recover an onside kick, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, as bad as Seattle played for 55 minutes, and to be able to overcome that and still win this football game tells you a lot about that team. You know, one of the more remarkable stats of the day, Russell Wilson joined a group that includes Joe Ferguson and George Blanda, guys who played a long time ago, the only quarterbacks in the AFL, NFL era to throw 4 interceptions in a postseason game and yet win. Mm-hmm. So that tells you just how hard it is to do what he did. And there's a lot of them that have done it. A lot of them have done it in Super Bowls. A lot of them have done it in big games, but haven't been able to win. And it's very hard to overcome that, but yet he did. I mean, when he threw that 4th interception with 5 minutes left, which is a whole other story about what Morgan Burnett did on that play, his passer rating at that point was 7. Mm-hmm. Not 70, 7. And he was perfect from there on out. So that'll give you an idea just how quickly he turned it around.
Yeah, just amazing. So many things to point to in this game, but the Packers had every chance. Should have been up by as much as 29 or 30-0 at one point. They weren't, and they left points out there. And when you do that against a great team, you're leaving yourself open to problems, and they invited those problems, and they got them. You're right about Burnett. 3rd and 19, they rushed 3. Don't understand that. The decisions to not go for it on 4th and 1, not once, not twice, but 3 times. They passed on a 4th and 1 again and kicked a 40-yard field goal by Mason Crosby. So they had 3 opportunities to go for it, 4th and 1. We're just kind of laughing about it. We were talking about Sean Payton, and was there any doubt that he would have gone for at least 1 or 2, if not all 3 of those?
Certainly the first one.
The first one. And that was my point initially. If you go for it the first time from 6 inches, makes all the sense in the world. And if you don't make it, well, the second time it makes more sense, but they didn't do it.
Right. And, yeah, and look, getting points on the board, especially early in the game, it's a long game. You know, I remember I believe in the Super Bowl there was a 4th down situation where Peyton didn't make it, and we've analyzed these numbers where 4th and goal at the 1 yard line, the Saints have been very unsuccessful. I want to digress to a Saints conversation here, but everybody pretty much knows what's coming there, and a lot of times you're either just trying to be cute or you're playing smash mouth football at the middle. It's not like people are spreading. They're doing things totally different than what they do otherwise. But Green Bay still can run the football between the tackles, and in fact, they did it pretty well for a while there yesterday. That offensive line was winning the football game for them.
Well, you sneak it on the first one. You're inside the 1. It was estimated to be about 6 inches. You sneak the ball. I know Aaron Rodgers has a bum leg, but all you're doing is sneaking it, and you push him forward, Mike Kuhn, hello, and you get a touchdown. We've seen it over and over and over and over again. Tom Brady snuck it, about 4 times yesterday, converted every single time with a little help from his friend.
Yeah, sure. It's, and they do a great job of it as well. And by the way, speaking of New England, came out with some of the crazy formations again yesterday. It's going to be really interesting to see the whole cat and mouse game, if you will, between Belichick and Carroll. Kind of matching wits in this game. And, both sides have 2 weeks to prepare. What else will the Patriots be able to come up with against the Seahawks, and how they're going to attack this defense? If anyone can come up with things, it's certainly, a Bill Belichick coach team.
And give Seattle's defense all the credit in the world. They kept them abreast and in the game and afloat when they really should have been out of the game. And as for the Patriots, they were dominant. They were terrific. And we can blame the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning, who was far less than 100% for this, because the Colts just aren't that good, Lenny. They're not that good up front on offense, not that good up front on defense. They've blown a couple of first-round picks. Their defensive lineman, first-round pick's a bust. Trent Richardson trade was a bust. And they don't have a whole lot. And Reggie Wayne's old, unfortunately. And they don't have a whole lot of talent around Andrew Luck. And yet here they were, which tells you about how good he is.
Exactly. And you know, I think what that game is a case, and you see this in football, you see it in basketball, whatever it is, these two teams just don't match up well. The Patriots are a tough matchup for the Colts, whatever the reason is. And that's unfortunate. We saw a lousy, AFC Championship game as a result. But I chalk that up more to that. Yeah, did the Colts not play well, and did the Patriots play well? Absolutely. But I think even both of them playing at their best, the Patriots still win that game.
Pelicans, who can figure them? They go to Toronto and win after going to Philadelphia and losing. Now they got the matinee at New York against the Knicks. Madison Square Garden against a team that hasn't won, it seems like, in about 5 years. So I guess they'll lose that game. I don't know.
Well, they've lost 16. They've lost 16 in a row. The Knicks have. Okay, and I put this one out on Twitter last night. This is pretty remarkable. Back on December the 9th, the Pelicans beat the Knicks to go to 10-10. Since then, they have been 11-11, 12-12, 13-13, go on and on, and now they're 20-20. So, is this pattern going to continue in perpetuity, and we'll be looking at a 41-41 team that's just on the edge of the playoffs looking in? They've really got to try to put several solid efforts in a row together. And look, to win that game at Toronto without Drew Holiday, without Anthony Davis, is saying something. 'Cause while this is a Toronto team that has not played as well of late, this is still a team that's winning their division by 10 games going in. So it's a very solid basketball team, and give Monty Williams' crew credit for bouncing back after a dud at Philadelphia to win this game on Sunday.
Jimmer Fredette continues to play solid off the bench, but the story has been Alexi Ajinça. When you look at what he's done the last 2 games, tremendous performances, and of course some would say, okay, well, why has he not been getting playing time previously?
And where has that been? Because when he has gotten playing time, he hasn't put out that kind of effort. But 2 solid efforts, and he really stepped up with a big man down in Davis to really provide a spark here these last 2 games.
He certainly did. And, of course, college basketball, great win for Tulane at Houston, trailed at halftime, or actually tied at halftime after being down much in the first half. And they won the game at Houston. I think Ed Conroy's done a great job of getting the most out of his team.
I think so, too. I mean, this is, when we looked at this and said, okay, Tulane's going into the American, can they win more than maybe 3 games in the league is what you kind of figured that, the so-called experts picked them last, pretty much consensus. Well, guess what? They're 4-2 in this league right now, coming home for 3 straight, and this will be a telling 3-game homestand. SMU, Memphis, Tulsa, who are 3 of the best teams in the league, certainly all in the top half of the division. SMU in disarray. Memphis is the team Tulane beat on the road. Tulsa, a surprising team leading the league right now.
Yeah, SMU is really messed up right now with all the allegations and the things that transpire with players' eligibility and such. And, of course, where LSU is concerned, go figure. Every time you want to get excited about these guys, they do this. Man, you can't blow a 13-point lead at home to a team you're better than. And no disrespect to Billy Kennedy's team. They're a solid team, but they're not as good as LSU, and there's no way you should lose that game.
No, you're right. You should finish off, especially at home, a game like that. And now it gets very tough for LSU this week. They've got to go to Florida. And then, while Vanderbilt is not as good as LSU, playing at Vanderbilt is always a tough place to play because it's unlike any other place that you play, not just in the SEC, but in America. So 2 tough games coming up on the road this week.
Well, you look at their play, and they just make bad decisions on the offensive end. Their guard play is inconsistent. It's up and down. And defensively, they're too loose and depend too much on Mickey blocking shots. They just allow people to get to the paint, and it's frustrating to watch because it seems that the talent is there other than the post position.
Yeah, and it's it's all about at the end of the day, it's all about going out and making plays when you've got situations that are close and late. And look, they've done it this year. The way they closed out the game at West Virginia, that is a win that they'll be able to hang their hat on come March. And this is going to be a team that, barring a major collapse or some kind of gigantic winning streak here, is going to be one of those teams that's going to stay a lot like the Pelicans. The Pelicans right on the edge of the playoffs. LSU is going to be right on the NCAA bubble when we start talking about March. And, the A&M loss is going to be one that could really hurt them. But as I mentioned, that West Virginia win a month ago is going to be one they could really that could loom large for them as well.
We will talk about all these topics and more on SportsNOLA TV, 6 p.m. Monday night, WHNO Channel 20. Check it out with Ricky Jackson, Brian Alley Walsh, Amy Jones and I. We look forward to that. We look forward to a great week, Lenny.
All right, yeah, we'll see you later this week.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond, and expanding to Florida. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great week, and God bless you.